Something that I'm breathing, telling me to sleep in. Things behind my lids like nothing gets done. Living by a bad truth, swallow it like who knew. Marching to the drums like pa pa pa.
Až budeš v LA, tak tenhle papír je něco, co nikdy nechceš dostat, protože je to protokol o zatčení. Já jsem ho dostal na základě falešného zatčení a protože shodou okolností za 3 dny to bude přesně rok od doby, kdy se stal celý tento incident, dneska mám pro vás bonusové video. Uvidíte rozhovor s americkou dozorkyní, která pracovala po dobu 8 let ve 3 různých amerických věznicích s různou ostrahou. Protože tento rozhovor je opravdu výživný, jak svou délkou, tak celým svým obsahem. Pro pochopení celého tématu jsem se rozhodl, že ho rozdělím na 2 díly. Takže se pohodlně usaďte, zapněte si dole titulky a jdem na to. A za chvíli vyjde díl číslo 2. Okay, so thank you for coming here. I would like to welcome you here and I really appreciate you being here because I finally met somebody who can answer all my questions about the US jail system because it's crazy. So let's just dive straight into it. Can you tell me the official title of your previous job? And also, can you tell me your name and how did you end up doing this job?
Well, my name is Koa, and I was a sergeant, a correctional officer, and worked 3 different prisons. I worked with juveniles in San Bernardino, and then I worked with men in maximum security in Chino. And then from there, I moved to minimum security in Každý.
Okay, so how such a beautiful girl like you can end up doing a prison work? Because prison is usually associated with danger, crimes, violence.
Right. I always wanted to be in law enforcement since I was in high school. Went to college, got a bachelor's in psychology, and then I got my bachelor's in criminal justice, and I started working in law enforcement in correctional facilities. Did that for 8 years, and then I got out.
Okay, so this was your first law enforcement experience.
Yeah.
So I hear something similar, that people who want to be actually in law enforcement, they first need to go through the jail system. Is it true?
Yes, that is true.
And then you can like
branch out. You can be a policeman on the street, detective. You can work there's other jobs. You can do like case management and like ICE officers, whatever you can find.
So you go online and you apply, or how does it work?
It's a whole process. So the whole process is, yes, you apply, and what they do to weed out people that are not fitted for this type of job is they go through a series of tests. So you go to an oral interview, they'll do a polygraph test, and then they'll do a series of investigations in your background to make sure that you don't have any criminal background, you're not, you don't have properties in other countries, you're not doing something illegal. So they pretty much investigate you, and once you pass the series of tests that they put in place, they say, okay, now you go to boot camp, and they send you to a 6-week boot camp where they train you on criminal minds, like what it's like in the prison system. They'll train you with physical training, so if you need to take down somebody, you know how to take down somebody. They train you with your weapons. Depending on if it's state, it might be longer, it might be 9 weeks if it's state. So if you go into, because there's different branches, there's state, county, and then city. So depending on which one you go into will depend on how long your training is. I worked for state. I worked for state at first, and then I went to the city.
So is the state prison also something that holds the inmates sentenced to death and like
Yes.
So have you ever seen like a death row or something like this?
I never worked death row, but I have been down that section. It's a very dark and not a very positive area. Like these people they don't care. They're just like crazy in the head.
They can see there like 20 years until somebody are executed. They're executed, right?
Yeah, they know like years before they're being executed.
That is crazy. So you worked in low security prison, man prison, and high security prison.
Right.
So what is like the obvious differences between those? I mean, obviously, like the level of security, like, but how can you define that? Like, is it like more bars, more cameras,
Okay.
more officers?
So maximum security, they're in cells. So you might have 2 inmates in a cell at a time, sometimes 1. And so that's how they segregate them. And then they have different sides. So they might have an A side, a B side, and that's what they'll do. They'll segregate race, they'll segregate people who are in certain gangs that don't get along with each other. And so you can work either side of the jail. So you get a very different variety of men and criminal minds. It's so crazy. It's really crazy to see some of these guys and the things that they think that they're trying to do, always playing games, and it's just mind
So
games.
you never can trust them.
Oh no, never,
Ever,
never,
ever,
never,
ever.
never
Even if
put
they,
trust.
Even if they look nice or
Oh
something.
no, no.
Never, ever.
Never,
So
never.
if you have to decide to which jail you're gonna return, which one it would be?
I would say minimum security. So
Obviously.
the minimum security is their dorms. It's just a bunch of bunk beds, showers in the back. You've got TV rooms where they can go in, and that's pretty much all it is.
What is the difference between maximum and minimum security when it comes to time they spend in the jail or in the cell?
So maximum security, these are criminals that will be in there for 20, 30, 50, 60 life. Okay? Just depends on the crime that they do. Minimum security, these are people that are in there for good behavior, or they're coming up on parole.
Okay. How many hours are they in the cell?
So they're in the cell. They do movement about every 2 hours, 15-minute movements. And that's what they call them. They'll say it's movement time, 15 minutes. So basically they'll open up the cells, let them move around within
Every 15 minutes?
every
2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have movement, and then they have chow, which is lunch. So they'll get to go to the cafeterias, get their food, and then they can go back. It's kind of lets them move around. They also do have what they call the yard, which they can go and work out. That's mainly what they do. Working out, writing letters to loved ones, supposedly girlfriends that they think they're going to go back to and never do.
After 50 years? Yeah.
Yeah. I still miss you. I'm still thinking of you. Yeah, right. She's moved on. Sorry.
Sorry. Game over,
sorry.
bro.
Yeah, but I had to read their mail, so that was I've worked all kinds of different shifts. So I've worked the day shifts, I worked the afternoon shifts, and the night shifts where there was supposed to be sleeping time, and when they sleep is when we pull out their mail and we read through their mail
Because you have to search for
for criminal like things,
connections.
criminal activity, things that they might be planning,
Receiving, yes.
whatever. Yeah. Late night, you're tired. It's 14-hour shift, and you're reading these letters, and all of them are the same. I miss you. When I get out of here, I'm gonna do right. I'm gonna do right. I'm gonna make everything right. And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, they're back in there, and you're like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. That's probably how they are, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you describe me how does your regular day look like? Obviously it's a jail, so no day is like regular day, right?
Right.
But can you just say in few words, like morning look like this, afternoon shift look like this, night, now you describe me the night,
Right.
but can you tell me about the morning?
Morning shift will come, so we'd show up to work for the next shift, and basically our lieutenants would tell us, you're working A side, you're working B side, you're working A, B, you got these guys to handle. They update us on things that happen within the prison, so that way, at least when we go into the dorms, we know, something happened between this guy and this guy, to watch out for fights and stuff like that. So they kind of update us before we actually step into the dorms. And then once you get in there, doors are locked, you got 80 guys coming up to you, talking to you, asking you questions, just trying to mess with your mind all day long. And at one point in time, you just get sick and tired of it, and you're just like, dude, you need to step away, go do what you need to do, write your letter, go watch TV, take a shower, sleep on your bed, whatever it is you need to do, just go do it somewhere else.
So you are the only female officer walking around all those guys.
Yeah.
Do you ever get scared what's ever on their mind? You are there by
Oh, yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. So
How do you hide the fear?
So, see that I always carried it with me. I always had that fear with me. So with that fear, all my decisions I ever made when I was working in the prisons with these guys, my decisions were based on my safety. I didn't care about anybody else except for myself. And that's basically how I handled myself every day. So every single time an inmate would come up to me and ask me a question, I wouldn't just say something back real quick. I would think about it first and be smart about it. So inmates, you never hand anything to an inmate, and you never take anything from them. It's an exchange thing that you should not do in a prison. So they would come and they would play games with you, and they'd say, "Hey, can I borrow your pen?" And most people would say, "Yeah, sure, here you go," you know. And so they would do this to me all the time. "Hey, can I borrow your pen?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." Or they go, "Can I see your pen?" I go, "Yeah, sure." And then I'd put it back, and they go, "I didn't get to see it." I said, "Really? What color was it?" They go, "Black." And I said, "Oh, you did get to see it." So they would play minds with these games with you, and they would try to get you to do an exchange with them. So the minute you do an exchange with them, they've got you. They're breaking you. They want to see how far they can go with breaking rules with you as the officer, basically. And so when I went in as a bitch. I stayed a bitch the whole time I was in there. I never took any shit. They broke a rule, you're out of there. Sorry. Wrote them up, and I said, "You're out of here." And I've had guys crying, begging me, "Please don't write me up. Please, please, they'll send me back to maximum."
Right. Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
they
Okay,
get
got it.
in minimum security. They get 3 strikes. After 3 strikes, they go back to maximum security.
What can be considered a strike?
Okay, so a strike can be anything from finding contraband on them to fighting.
Is it all on the same level? Contraband and fighting, same level, same, or?
It's just, these are rules. These are all rules. If they break any of the rules while they're in there, any officer can write them up for any rules. And so when I went in there, I just said, "You know what? These rules are in place. You guys break them, you're out of here." So I had a guy who, I remember this guy, I was walking, doing my rounds, and this guy kind of just brushed up against me. And they're not supposed to touch you. So I took that, and I don't think he did it on purpose, but you never know. So I took that and I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "You're out of here." And he cried and said, "No, this is my last strike. I can't do it." And I said, "Nope, you're out of here." I made an example of him in front of everybody else, and I said, "You're out of here." I said, "Don't ever touch me again. I don't care if it's just a brush up against me, nothing. You don't ever touch me." So I sent him out of there, and come to find out, he was in there for rape. And I said, "Oh, thank God I sent him out of there." I was like, "Goodbye."
So, I mean, you see these guys every day.
Yeah.
Do you have there any not personal relationship with them, but you know their names,
Yeah.
you see them every day.
Right.
They are there.
Yeah.
You must have some certain relationship with them.
I don't
Can
have.
you describe it somehow?
It's not a relationship. It's more of a eye to eye. I gotcha.
Contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't break my rules. I won't mess with you, kind of thing. So when I worked in the dorms, I kind of felt really unsafe because I had to do bunk searches. I had to do 4 per shift, and I was working 2 shifts, so that'd be about 8 searches I would have to do alone. So I'm the only one with 80 other guys, and I would have to tell them, "Excuse me, step to the side so I could search your bunk in front of all these guys." And I really felt that that was my weakest moment where they could do anything to me. So what I did was I got smart, and I called up the reps. So each race has a rep, a main person that kind of acts on behalf of them. So I called them up and I said, "Look, they're pushing me to do more bunk searches per shift." And I said, "So I have a deal for you." And they were like, "All right, let's hear it." And I said, "Okay, 15 minutes before I leave, just bring me up your contraband." And I said, "And I won't go through your shit." They were like, "Okay, sounds like a deal."
And they bring you weapons or what?
Every day I have a bag full of contraband and I didn't even have to search their bunks. And I take it back to my boss, my lieutenant, and I'd be like, here's your contraband. They go, dang. They go, where'd you get all this? I said, I did a lot of searching. That's what you guys wanted me to do.
But they probably knew you would find it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
How the hell you can hide or something?
Well,
I mean, you can, right?
See, but here's the thing. With them giving me their contraband, the easy contraband, I didn't find the bigger stuff. And they were able to hold on to that with me. So it was kind of like a give and take there. They wouldn't give me shanks. They wouldn't give me their tattoo machines. Stuff like that. They wouldn't give me their drugs, whatever else that they had, cell phones if they had them. But I got all the other stuff, which is fine because any contraband is contraband. So I kept my bosses happy, and I didn't have to put myself in a dangerous situation. So I kind of just managed my way through that and just said, well, this is what it is.
Have you ever met somebody who was later found innocent?
No, not
Really?
one. Not one.
Really?
I'm not kidding you, not one.
So nobody returned it to the court, and the court
not
made them
not during
their-
the time that I worked, no.
So in 8 years, you haven't met anybody who was found later innocent.
No.
That is crazy.
Nope.
Okay, now I would like to jump into my questions because I spent 12 hours in LA Metropolitan Detention Center. Yes, it was terrible. I would never ever wish
to experience it.
anybody to go through that experience. And I have a few questions. What would happen if I would get arrested, get there at 3 a.m. and I don't speak a word English and I'm from Czech? I'm not Mexican. I don't speak Spanish.
A lot of them they'll hold you in a holding cell until they can get a interpreter to come and talk to you.
I don't know how long it can take. Until they can find somebody who speaks Czech.
It would be the next day. They would probably call the ambassador or someplace like that and
So I would
have
be
somebody come.
So I would be sitting there, not understanding anything,
Right.
and no one would talk to me.
Right.
That's nice. They took my fingerprints. They scanned me through immigration, CIA, FBI, everything, Interpol,
Right.
everything. What's the procedure after that? If they would see that there is something positive, that there is some warrant, would they keep me and wait until some
Yeah.
other law enforcement come and then
Right.
they escort me?
So if you had something else in your background that was criminal related, yes, they'll hold you and they'll have a detective come and speak with you in regards to it so that they can resolve whatever's going on. So if you have warrants, if you have, if you had some type of criminal thing going on, investigation that was happening with you, that they found, oh yeah, you'll definitely be you'll be in a room and they'll have detectives come and they'll start talking to you to try to get information from you so that they can start building a case. And once they get the information that they need, they take you to court, and after court, they'll present all their findings and all the information that you've given to them, and they build a case and they try to put you back into the jail system for X amount of years.
Crazy. Why is the jail food so bad?
It's cafeteria food.
Okay, it was disgusting. First of all, I asked them if I can get water. They gave me some orange juice in paper pack.
Yeah.
It was disgusting because it was so sweet. You
Right.
can't drink that at all, okay?
Yeah.
It was morning, it was really early in the morning, and I had my lenses in my eyes for so long, and it was cutting me like a bitch. And I asked
Right.
him, I need to get him out. Nobody cared, at all.
Oh, yeah, they
Once
don't.
you are locked in, they don't care.
No.
They said in the cop station that I'm gonna go to hospital to take a blood.
Right.
But meanwhile, they were taking everything from me, my strings from my shoes and everything. They gave me a band which says LA County Jail.
Right.
And in the same time, they were telling me that I'm going to hospital for a blood test. So they were obviously lying to me. Is this like a normal thing, or I had just a bad luck?
I think it's not. I don't think it's normal. I think that you really did have bad luck that night.
It's crazy. Everything went wrong. Everything
Probably
that
the
could
cops that pulled you over, I think that they were just having bad days and they were taking it out on you. So, yeah, it doesn't normally happen that way, but there are stories. There are a lot of stories actually that are a lot like yours.
Okay. There was a moment when I really freaked out, and it was in the time when I knew I'm gonna be released in 12 hours because they say they didn't find anything in my blood. But the officer that told me to, probably her shift ended. And the new officer came there, and I asked her if I'm gonna be in the same holding cell for the entire 12 hours because I'm okay, I'm here by myself, that's fine. I didn't want to get around other inmates, to not get into fight or some problem, right? And that officer told me, she was like, no, you're not gonna be here 12 hours, you're gonna be here until your court, which is gonna be on Tuesday. And it was 3 days ahead because she didn't know about my case. You say that they know about people who are currently in the jail.
Right.
How the hell it could happen that she had no idea why I'm there for?
So the officer that took you in, the first officer that took you in, what they do is they have to write their reports. So all officers, when they take somebody in, they have to write up a report. And probably the other officer that picked you up from the hospital or took you from the hospital back to the holding cell had it read.
It was no hospital. They took my blood in the basement of the jail.
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
I gotcha.
They were lying to
I
me.
got you.
They were giving me. I had no idea what they're giving me the white band.
I gotcha. Okay.
I wish I would go to the hospital.
Well,
I didn't have such
a lot of it is communication between officers and the reports that they write. So if one officer isn't, brought up to date as far as what's going on with one inmate to the next, they won't know until they read the reports.
There was a woman, and when they were fingerprinting her, she was trying to break the fingerprinting scanner with her head. And she was yelling at it. And she had no shoes. She had a sleeping dress. They pulled her out of the street. She was clearly under some drugs, and she was trying to do it. So the officers grab her hand and start to break her hand behind her. She starts to yell like if they would be ripping her with a knife.
Yeah.
They tried many times to take her fingerprint. She always crushed the head. So then they were holding her head as well. And when they were trying to make her calm, she started to spit on them, and they had to put some bag on her head. And I was just standing there witnessing all that. How common is this?
It's very common. So in the jail system, you get a lot of people that have mental health issues. And I would say the majority of the people in there are mental health. They have mental issues, severe, probably because they're not on any medication. And then if they're coming off the streets, of course, they're on drugs. And that's not going to help with any situation. So if you get a lot of people in the jail system that are on drugs.
The cell that I was locked in was kind of like a soundproof. The guy in front of me was yelling from that cell, and I didn't really hear anything. He was yelling and hitting his head to the glass. And then once he couldn't hit anymore because his face was fucked up, he started to punch me with his hands until he probably broke both his wrists.
Right.
And then he was yelling, and there was a female officer walking by the wall, and she had to press the buttons on the wall to probably notify that she walked by the cells, right? I was just observing everything and trying to figure out how does it work,
right?
And every time he walks by, he was doing faces on her, he was trying to lick the glass or something, something nasty.
Yeah.
You want to tell me that this is also very common?
That is very common, yes.
Why did you end up doing this job? This is so crazy.
Oh my God.
This is so crazy.
For me, it was a challenge. It's a challenge.
Well,
every day was a challenge. You just didn't know what your day was going to be like every day. It could be anything from a calm, easy babysitting day to a day where you have to break up guys and for fighting, or somebody getting killed, or somebody just going crazy because they didn't take their medication. So when I was telling you that there's a lot of people that are in there for mental health issues, what they do is they have case managers that make them go see a doctor, diagnose them with whatever's physically, mentally wrong with them, and then they put them on medication so that when they're in the jails, they're taking their medication and they're calmer. They also receive help from the state because the state also protects mental health patients. So they'll get all the counseling and therapy or whatever it is that they need so that they can, I guess, physically live until their sentence is over. But they get special needs help. There are like Indians, like people who have like Native American background, or they're Native American. Those, they have special privileges. You cannot touch their stuff without their permission.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
So I had one guy in my prison where it's because their stuff is kind of like blessed. It's their stuff is it's a law here in California. Their stuff is kind of like, it's blessed. You cannot touch their stuff without their permission.
So what he will say? No, you will not touch my coke.
No,
It's mine. It's mine.
Well, I don't know why this guy was in there, but I remember I went to him, and I didn't know his situation. I didn't know his background, and I went to him and I said, "Can you step to the side?" And he goes, "Well, I'm Native American," and I said, "Oh." I said, "Okay, can I please search through your stuff then?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." He didn't have nothing to hide, so I went through his stuff.
But he know his rights.
Yes, he knew his rights, and I was like, "Okay, cool," you know. And so I went through his stuff, and I was a little more gentle with his stuff because I didn't want to break anything or anything like that. So I was like, "Okay, I'll give him a break." But
crazy.
I didn't want to start anything there because I was like, "Okay, I don't need no legal stuff."
They put me on the group cell with all those crazy guys who looked, they just booked Airbnb. They were chilling there. They had a good time because they had roof over their head and they were happy. But I fall asleep. You cannot even say that I was actually asleep. But I
Right.
close my eyes and they would come every 5 minutes, kinda, because I lost track about the time. Every 5 minutes to check the cells. They open the doors and they speak out the cops and they like wake you up, right?
Right.
And every like 10 minutes they come with a shotgun and they load the shotgun. And since it spreads through the room so bad, like you sleep and it kind of feel like somebody loaded a shotgun by your head. How this can be freaking legal? Like they were clearly pointing a gun at me when they were like escorting me from the holding cell
Yeah.
to the group cell. Like I was there for, they thought I'm there for driving under influence of weed, which was their stupid idea. But this is a crime which deserves me having a gun in front of my face, a shotgun. And also, can you tell me what's in the shotgun? Like, is it like regular ammo or?
They do put regular bullets in there. Yes, it's loaded. The jails, when you're booked for any type of crime, when they take you to the jails before you go to court and you're sentenced for any crime that you do, the jail's probably the worst place that you can go first. The prisons are a little bit different because these people have been there for years, months to years, and they're a little more comfortable. In the jails, no matter what time of day, you don't know what kind of criminal you're getting. You don't know their state of mind. You don't know why they're in there, because they're still doing the background investigation on you, trying to find out if you have warrants on you, if you've already been in jail before, what you've been in jail before, if you have. So it's a lot of investigation work that they're doing before you even go to court. So they're booking you in these jails and they don't know your whole background. So they don't know who they're getting. You can be a mass murderer. And so that's why they have this extreme type of setting that they have in these jails, because you just never know. You never know what you're going to get.
I must say it was very, very, very scary.
Yeah.
All that was fine, you know. Okay, they arrest me, whatever. But I never ever had anybody pointing the shotgun at me and
Right.
load it, because I felt like how it clicked, you know.
Right.
And when you sleep and somebody load a shotgun by you, like next to you, it's terrible. The way how we wake up, it's terrible. What would happen if they wouldn't put me to that holding cell, but they would take me as everybody else from that group cell? They escort them somewhere. Is there some type of yard or something where they put them to?
No. So in the jails, they have cells, and they'll put up to, I think, 6 people in a cell sometimes. But I said before, they do a lot of segregation. They'll ask you questions like if you've had tattoos, if you've been in gangs, where you're from. They'll ask you a series of questions just so they know how to segregate you. And they try their best to keep people segregated from different gangs so that they don't have fights. They try to minimize that as much as possible.
Konec první části. Já vám chci moc poděkovat za to, že jste tohle video zkoukli až sem a chci ještě závěrem říct pár slov. Chci moc poděkovat vám všem, do tohle video a všechny ostatní videa tohle typu budete sdílet, protože vy mi dáváte tu možnost, abych mohl domlouvat další rozhovory s ostatními zajímavými lidmi, případně s dalšími bezpečnostními složkami. Takže děkuji vám za pozornost a brzo se uvidíme u dílu číslo 2, který je ještě lepší a ještě výživnější. Čau.